There you go.
Hey, everyone. I'm Scott Stokely, and I am here with Kevin Molidor.
Nailed it.
Did I get it right?
Oh, yeah.
He is a teacher at the Glenbard Transition School, and we're going to be doing a live stream Q&A. It's going to be a lot of fun. His entire class is there being really quiet.
There we go.
Hey guys, turn
So it's going to be a fun day. We're doing questions about, well, I don't know what the questions are, but I think they're about the Disc Golf Pro Tour. And but first, Kevin, please tell us about your school and your students and even about you.
Absolutely. All right. So my name is Kevin Molidor. I am a transition teacher through Glenbard North Transition Program. I work with these students on a variety of skills, specifically with daily living skills. So I work with students on how to cook, how to clean, all the ins and outs of daily living in adulthood. I've been a special ed teacher for 11 years now. This is my third year with Glenbard. I absolutely love this program. I love my students. And my passion outside of teaching is disc golf. I started playing in, I think, 2006. And I have been with a small group of guys, and we play, as much as possible. So yeah, that's a little bit about kind of my background. Disc golf is life. Very happy to have you here, though, talking with these kids, and they're very excited to have you. We got some awesome questions, and I know they're very excited to come on up here and chat.
Yeah, and you had asked me ahead of time if I wanted to see some of the questions, and I said, that's no fun.
You can't see the questions. Yeah. You can't see the questions for Q&A.
Yeah. So we're exactly. I want to be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm ready for you. What do we got?
Okay, fantastic. Awesome. So our first student that's going to be coming on up here is Dorcas. Dorcas, why don't you get yourself ready to go? You can come up, and we have some questions ready to go for you.
All right.
All right, guys. Can we start getting some round of applause for our...
Oh my God.
All right, Dorcas, come on.
Okay. Well, and then a round of applause for everyone at the school. Hello, Dorcas. Nice to meet you.
Good. Okay, so how old were you when what wants to start
Disc golf?
disc golf?
Good. So how old were you when you knew you wanted to start playing disc golf?
I started playing for the first time when I was 7 years old. Yeah, which is I'm old, so that's a long time ago. My mom moved. Well, actually, my mom moved to a neighborhood, and in that neighborhood was the world's first disc golf course. And when I played for the first time, it was the only disc golf course in the entire world. It was the very first and only one. And I think now there's around 15,000 courses in the world. But I got to start at the first and only one.
Very cool. And where was that?
That was at Oak Grove Park in Pasadena,
Okay.
California.
Very nice. Okay, we got another good question from Dorcas here.
Okay.
Is this your own job?
Okay, is this your only job?
It is my only job. I'm competing on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Excuse me. I have some allergies. I apologize. I'm competing on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. But I also, my job is disc golf, but it's not just competing. I also teach disc golf classes, and I teach disc golf seminars, and I make disc golf YouTube videos, and I sell golf discs for disc golf with my name on them. So my job is disc golf, but it's not just playing.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you, Dorcas.
Thank you, Dorcas.
All right. And now, Scott, I know you're on the Disc Golf Pro Tour right now, so we're really thankful to have you taking the time out today to chat with our class. I know you just finished up Waco. last weekend. How was the weather? Real quick, this is a side note.
So it was really, really windy.
Yeah.
I want to let everybody in on a secret, but don't tell anybody on the pro tour that I did this. But it was so windy that I put rocks in my shoes so I wouldn't blow away.
That's a good trick.
But don't tell my competitors. That's my secret.
Love
It was windy and it was cold. But to me, it doesn't matter because there's no other place I would rather be in the whole world than competing on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So no matter how bad the weather was, that's still my favorite place to be.
I love it. Yeah, I was watching some of the live coverage, and then I've watched some of the post coverage as well. Holy cow! You guys are troopers.
It was rough. It was really hard.
Okay, I have another question from Emma, and Emma's going to stay back. She wants me to read the question for her today, which is great. And I love this question. This was the one question that I teased you with last night when we talked. And that was, what did you have to give up in order to competitively play disc golf?
So that's two questions. The first question is the big question about competing in a professional sport. And when you compete in a professional sport against the best in the world, you give up almost everything. Because you have to work so hard and train so hard and practice so much. It doesn't leave a lot of time for other hobbies and other activities. So to try to be the best at something, you really have to focus on one thing in life. I don't know if that's a good idea as far as life goes, but it's what you have to do to compete in a sport. Every professional athlete will say the same thing. Now, the smaller answer is 3 years ago when I came back to go out on the tour, and especially this year, everything that my girlfriend and I own that we couldn't fit into a Jeep, we gave away or we threw away. We don't have a storage unit. We don't have a house. We don't have an apartment. We don't have an RV or a camper. Everything we own is a couple suitcases, my golf discs, a little bit of camping gear. And that's how we live our life. Not just because of disc golf, but we live for adventure. So we don't want a home to go back to. We want to go to a national park, and we want to go see a museum, and we want to go compete on the pro tour, but we want to go to the next city. So we gave up everything, just about everything we own right now to travel. And our plan is to never have a home again. I would like to travel and do this or something disc golf for the rest of my life on the road with her.
I love that. That's awesome. That is a grind to try to be the best. You got to go all in. And I think that's a crazy cool approach.
Well, if I wasn't playing disc golf, I would be trying to do the same thing. I would be trying to travel and figure out how to make my living and earn money traveling. So with or without disc golf, my life, we call ourselves nomads because we're always on the go. And that's where we like to be. Here's an important thing for us is that there isn't just one way to be happy in life. There's so many different ways that you can be happy if you figure out which way is going to make you happy. It doesn't matter if it makes other people happy. If you figure out what makes you happy, that's how you should live your life. So we live our life differently, but it's how we like it.
That's pretty darn cool. I like that. Thank you. Mm-hmm. All right. Next up, I have Blanca and Omar are going to come on up, and they have a couple questions for you as well.
A team.
Yes. All right.
I'm not going first.
Okay, Blanca, why don't you start us off? Come on over.
All right.
All right. Just watch your step here.
Sounds cool.
Okay. I'm gonna adjust my camera down for this one.
Uh,
There we go.
I mean, I could have ducked my head now.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Was it hard? Was it hard taking a break from your dream?
So we did some research on
Okay.
you, Scott, and so they do know that you stepped away from the sport for, I believe, 14 years,
Yeah.
something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And so that is what this question is referring to.
So, yes, it was hard, and no, it wasn't hard at all. My daughter was born, and I had been traveling for 8 years. I was not in a relationship with her mom anymore. So my daughter was born in Colorado, and I wasn't going to be out traveling when my daughter was in Colorado. So it was hard to give up disc golf because disc golf's important to me, but my daughter is more important to me. So it was also easy to give up disc golf because I wanted to be home to raise her. That was very important to me. A lot of people, a lot of really good parents can still travel because that's how they make their living to support their family. So it's not wrong to do that. It's just not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be there at her daycare, and I wanted to volunteer at her school and teach her how to read and teach her how to ride a bike. Like I wanted to be there for that. So it was hard and easy.
All right. Perfect. Any other questions based off that, Blanca?
No.
Okay, awesome. So next up we have Omar.
Great question.
I know.
Okay, I'm just gonna move you in front of the camera.
Okay.
There we go. Just doing a shuffle. Okay. Perfect. There we go. And I'm gonna go up with my camera here.
Oh my god. What is your diet?
What's that?
Isn't the question, what is your diet?
Yes. Okay. So
What's
do you
that?
have a specific diet that you adhere to while on the pro tour?
Yes, I do. And if I tell you exactly what it is, it's probably going to make everybody sad. So be prepared to be a little bit sad.
Okay.
Okay, last April, I stopped eating ice cream. I know. So ice cream is my favorite food in the whole world. But I'm 52 years old, and most of the players on tour are in their 20s and 30s. They're younger than me, and so they have a athletic advantage because they're younger. In sports, you typically play your best in your 20s and 30s. I'm older, so in order to compete or try to compete against them, I have to do everything I can. I try to do it better than everybody. So I am very strict on my diet. I don't eat bread, pasta, rice, tortillas. I don't eat sweets, ice cream, cookies, cake. It's really hard because I like ice cream. Ice cream is my favorite food. I love ice cream, but it's a choice. If I want to try to be the best, then I have to give something up to do that. And so I felt it was worth it. However, in November, I'm going to be eating a lot of ice cream. That's my plan. I mean, I have the day on my calendar circled for when I can start eating ice cream again.
I love that. Is that the end of the tour in November?
Yeah, November-ish. There's a couple tournaments at the end I'm not sure about. I'm not going to go crazy. I like being healthy. My diet's important to me, especially as I get older, to be healthy and to feel good. It's important. But it's okay to have ice cream once in a while. That's not bad. While I'm competing and working out every day, I'm just focused.
Fantastic. Any other questions to follow up?
Yeah.
Alrighty, I'm gonna have you exit stage right.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Thank you. Nice job, you two. That was awesome.
Great questions, everyone. I love it.
All right. This next question I have from Dylan, who is going to stay seated. I'm just going to ask this on his behalf. And so Dylan is wondering, what mental tools do you use while under pressure in tournaments?
Ooh, that's a good question. The biggest mental tool I use is to remember that the course I am playing and the shots I'm throwing are exactly the same in the tournament as they are in practice. So if I'm playing a hole and nobody's watching, and I come back the next day and I play the hole and 1,000 people are watching in the park and 100,000 people are watching on YouTube, that doesn't change the hole. It's still the exact same shot. And so nothing has changed. Now, that's not easy. It's hard to do. It's hard not to notice all the people watching. But that's the biggest trick, is try to make the tournament feel like a practice round with my friends. And the other thing I try to do is, instead of being nervous about the 1,000 people watching, I try to enjoy it. I remind myself that there are right now, I think, 15 million disc golfers in the world. And just about every one of them, if they could, would trade places with me and would love to be there playing professional disc golf on the tour in front of the gallery. So I think it would be silly not to enjoy that when that's what everyone wants to be able to do. I'm so lucky. Hard not to enjoy it.
That's fantastic. And I know now.
By the way, I got one thing to add to that.
Mm-hmm.
When there's a huge gallery, I also have to go to the bathroom a lot. So I do feel it. I'm not immune to feeling it. Of course I feel it.
Okay. Dylan, any follow-up questions? That's all good? All right. Fantastic. Okay, next up, I'm going to be bringing up Kevin. Come on, bud. All right. All right, you can say hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, here you go.
Who do you wish was watching your perform at every game or match?
All right, so who do you wish was watching you perform at every game or match? Do you have any people that you wish were out there watching you while you played?
Wow, that's an amazing question. That's why I didn't want to get the questions ahead of time, because I like having to think. You know, I think the biggest thing for me is, it's not about who's watching, it's about how many people are watching. Because I've played the sport for so long, for many, many years, all we wanted to do was to show everybody how cool this sport was. And we tried everything to get people to come out and watch. I mean, we would play a tournament where we would put up advertising, we would put out flyers, we would invite local organizations, and nobody would come out to watch us play. And I don't mean for years, I mean 10, 20 years, 30 years. That's what happened in our sport. So I think it's not about one person. It's just about as many people as possible. The thing about disc golf is that once you try disc golf, you're probably going to love it and you're probably going to keep playing. But before you try it, you kind of have to see it to see a bunch of people having fun playing. So really, I think it's just about, I want everybody in the world to see it. I mean, everybody. So that's how about that for an answer? My answer is, I want every single person in the world. Does that cover everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Love it. All right.
That's a great question. Thank you.
Do you enjoy playing or watching any other sport?
I do. I grew up playing baseball, a lot of baseball. I bowled as well. And I was a huge sports fan watching other sports. When you're competing on the tour, you're competing on Saturday and Sunday. So there's not a lot of watching. So I don't get to watch as much as I would like to. But honestly, now as I get older, I would rather be able to play the sport than just watch it. So I like watching football and baseball and basketball, but I would rather play disc golf or play other sports than just watch.
All right. Any other follow-up questions?
No.
All right. Let's give Kevin a round of applause. Nice job. All righty. Fantastic.
These questions are so good.
I like the answer. Just trying to get everybody watching the sport. It's like one thing I will say, since we had this might just be my observation, but since the COVID pandemic, I have seen the sport of disc golf skyrocket in popularity. I'm seeing more people out on the course than I ever have before. And I think a lot of that has to do with it being a social distance sport that's outdoors, and it gets you active. It keeps you moving. And it's relatively inexpensive as well. While everything is getting more and more pricey, this is a sport where you can go out and you can enjoy a day out in the forest or in the fields with your friends and family. And it's been awesome to see this growth rising and rising.
No, it is. And for sure, in the last couple of years, it has grown a lot. But it grew for 40-something years until that point. It grew every year, just not as fast as we wanted. But here's an interesting thing about disc golf. I like to think of there's two different types of sports for adults. When you're a kid, this doesn't really apply. But as an adult, there's sports you watch and there's sports you play. So you watch football and you watch baseball, as for most adults, but you shoot pool, throw darts, and bowl. So one's a watching sport, one's a participation sport. As a kid, you can participate and watch everything. As far as just participation sports that people play, we are very close to becoming the #1 participation sport in America in terms of how many people play. But not just that, the sport is growing like this. Like every month, there's more people playing, more courses going in, more clubs forming. We will be the #1 participation sport in the country very soon here, if we're not already. And
I love that.
Well, this is what's amazing is that all we wanted to do was become respected as a sport. And then here we are about to become the biggest one in the country as far as people playing. And to me, I'll be honest, that's more important to me. That a sport that tens of millions of people can play, to me, is more important in the world than a sport that tens of millions of people watch 20 people play. I think they're both great. I love all sports. But tens of millions of people get to play ours. That's special.
It's the best.
It
Awesome.
is. It's the best.
Awesome. All right. Next up, I have Morris. Morris, come on down. All right, buddy. Okay, come on in.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
I have a question. Do you have a sports hero?
Do you have a sports hero?
Yes. I have a few sports heroes. I'm a very big fan of Jackie Robinson. He was the first Black player to play Major League Baseball, at least in the modern era. He broke the color barrier that made baseball accessible for everyone. I'm a big fan of Billie Jean King because she did something similar with women's sports. Many great women athletes before Billie Jean King, but she was the first. She was a professional tennis player that went out there and really showed that women could play sports. These are really important to me. There is a player who played football for the University of Notre Dame named Rudy. And I love Rudy because his goal wasn't to be a star football player. He was too small. He was too slow. He could never even make the team. And so his goal was simply to make the team. And he did. And that's important because there's only a few people that get to go win the Super Bowl or the World Series. But everybody can achieve their own dream that they set for themselves. So he wasn't trying to play in the NFL. He was never going to, but he had his goal. He achieved his goal. Those are probably my biggest sports heroes outside of disc golf. And in disc golf, there's not enough time to list how many heroes, but they're also my friends. So they're my heroes, but they're also my friends and family.
That's so cool. I'm fanboying back here.
Okay, what is the one word to describe you, Scott?
The one word to describe me,
Mm-hmm.
boy, how about, I think happy. So because I'm older, I've had a lot of good times in my life, but I've had a lot of bad times. I've done so many things right. I've done so many good things in this world, but I've also failed many times in life. And so I've had ups and I've had downs, but I've learned from all of them. And now at this point in my life, I'm just happy all the time. I've figured out, it just took me 52 years, well, maybe 50 years, but it took me all this time to figure out how to be truly happy. So one of the things that's important to me is I have a really big disc golf following, and it's growing. And I do a lot of teaching about disc golf and talking about the tour so people follow me. But then I always sneak in videos about how to be happy, how to deal with stress, how to deal with pressure, how to face your fears. Because I'm also trying to teach people to be happy because I learned how to be happy. So I think if there's one thing, that's what I would want people to think of me, is that I'm happy. And hopefully then they look at me and say, well, if he's happy, I want to see how he does it, because then I can help.
Fantastic. Any follow-up questions?
No.
All right, give me next.
Those are great
Yeah.
questions. Everyone's questions are so good.
All right, let's give Morris a round of applause. Nice job, buddy. Oh, that was awesome.
These are so great, man. This is so much fun. I can't wait
This is
to do more of these.
exactly how I was hoping it would. This is awesome. It's
By
cool
the
too,
way,
'cause
tell the whole class.
Yep.
So the one thing Kevin said, he said, please, no bathroom humor. And I snuck one in.
He still did it. He still did it. He still did it. He still pressed it.
I do like that last question, Morris, because it does tie kind of directly into this class that you guys are in with me right now with daily living. We do different units, and one of my units that I like to focus on is our mental wellness. We work on
Of course.
mindfulness, meditation, social skills, all these things that try to make us not only happy, but a more complete person. So it's cool to hear you talk about that as well, which kind of drives home the importance of those skills.
Yeah. That's
All
great.
right, we have one final student question for you, and that is going to be Amanda. Amanda, can you come up here? Let's go, Amanda. Here we go.
Okay.
All right. Welcome, Amanda. Here you are. There we go.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
Has disc golf gotten easier or hard for you as you have aged?
Well, it's gotten harder for several reasons. One, because I've gotten older, and when you get older, everything becomes a little bit harder. That's just the reality of life. When you get older, well, actually, when you're younger, things get easier and easier as you get older. But then at some point, it goes the other way. It starts to get harder. But it's also gotten harder because there's so many more people playing. That also means there's so many good people playing. And good people, I mean people who are very good at disc golf. Back when I was traveling and competing in the 1990s, there were only a small number of people that were really competing to win tournaments. Now, if 120 players are at a pro tournament, 120 players are competing to win. That's harder. So I would say that part's become harder. But I think that my life around disc golf has become easier because that's all up here. That's not physical. So the managing the tour and all the business side of the tour and the teaching and the speaking and everything I do, that's all easier, but competing's harder for sure.
All right.
Fantastic.
Great question.
Awesome. Let's give it up for Amanda. Okay. Get this back adjusted. All right, perfect. There we go. Okay, so those were our student questions. Does anybody else have any additional questions for Scott? No? All right. Well, I had a couple as well for you, if possible.
Shoot. Yeah, please. I love it.
Okay. So let's start with, okay, I'm going to go with one. Who do you think belongs on the Mount Rushmore of disc golf, Scott?
The Mount Rushmore of disc golf. I'm actually making a video about that as we speak.
Ooh.
But I'll spoil it, but you got to tell the class, don't tell anybody about this. And all the people. And if you're watching on YouTube, watching this video, don't post this in the comments and tell people because I'm making a video about it. No, Ed Hedrick.
Mr. Molidor.
Yeah, good first question.
No, Ed
You
Hedrick.
have to ask that question when he's making a video? Wow.
So Ed Hedrick is the person who, he didn't invent disc golf, but he's the one that created the pole hole, the basket we putt into. He also created some of the early players organizations that started to get players around the world to realize that other people around the world were playing. He's first. Dan Roddick is and was the biggest promoter, especially in the 70s and 80s, in all of disc sports. He worked in sports promotion for Whammo. He helped more than anyone making disc sports, frisbee golf, disc golf, ultimate, all those sports global. He also was involved in running juniors tournaments all over the world. And like he was the biggest promoter in the early days when nobody cared what we did. He was out there promoting it. Those are the first two. And then the second two would be Dave Dunn-Pace, which is one of the owners of Innova Champion Discs, along with Tim Solinsky and Harold Duvall. Innova was one of the early pioneers in making golf discs. And they also have, over the years, aside from the technology, they put millions and millions of dollars back into the sport. They were a successful company, but they always put money back in to growing our sport. And at the same time was Jim Kenner over at Discraft, who was doing the same thing. He was an innovator in a lot of ways, got a lot of courses put in the ground, but also he put millions of dollars back into the sport from Discraft. And they were on opposite sides of the countries. They were very heated rivals, business rivals. But something that I don't want forgotten is that Innova and Discraft, that rivalry, that battle, the business battle, that drove the sport hugely, especially in the 1990s, 80s, but especially in the 90s. That rivalry, everybody benefited from it. Because if Innova wasn't sponsoring a tournament, Discraft was going to. And if Discraft wasn't sponsoring a player, Innova was going to. And so because they both existed at the same time, everybody benefited. So Jim Kenner, Dave Dunn-Pace, Dan Roddick, and Ed Hedrick.
Awesome. Very cool. That's a good answer. And I'm sorry if I blew up your spot on the next video.
No, you didn't. I was totally joking. It's totally fine.
All right. They're going to give me a hard time after this about that. Okay. I have two more questions, if that's okay, if we have time for them.
I got all the time. We can spend all day. I got all the time in the world.
Awesome.
This is fun.
So, I run a side company that's called Till Death Disc Golf. I'm a huge avid disc golf fan, and our motto is disc golf for life till death. Now, with that being said, you kind of alluded to this earlier. Do you plan on playing disc golf basically until you can't throw anymore, or like what's your timeline?
Of course, you can always as long as you're physically able, you can throw. I won't be able to compete on the pro tour for much longer.
Sure.
I mean, I'm close to an age now where me competing, some people might even think it's past its time. I don't think it's past my time, but certainly in a few years it will be. But the thing about disc golf, and this alludes to what we talked about with Rudy and life in general, I'll keep playing and I'll keep competing. My goals will change. So my goals will be to compete against other players my age, or my goals will be maybe I compete against the top players in the world, 100 of the top players in the world. Maybe my goal is to make the top 50.
Sure.
And then in a couple of years, maybe my goal will be top 80. And then maybe in a couple of years, my goal will be to not finish last. It doesn't matter. Those are all personal goals that I'll set for myself. The thing that's important to me is I always set goals. And it doesn't matter if I fail at those goals, because it's no fun if you're going to succeed at everything. I think it's more fun to try to do things that you might fail at, because sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but it's way more fun to win and succeed if there's a chance of not winning and succeeding. So I will always set goals, and sometimes I succeed, sometimes I won't. No big deal.
Fantastic. That's pretty cool. And this is why I've introduced disc golf to my students, because it is something that you guys can start playing casually now. And it's something that if you do find you're interested in it, you can keep playing for the rest of your life, which is amazing.
Forever.
Sergio, you had a question back there? Okay, so he was just saying he's not familiar with disc golf, but he sees the basket, he's seen this conversation, and now he's interested in getting out there. And that's absolutely something we're going to start doing once the weather gets a little bit warmer. Okay. We'll be doing some of those community trips out to our local disc golf courses.
So one of the things that I've done is I've taught around the country 281 classes in 200 and something cities, which I call adaptive disc golf. And the reason I call it adaptive disc golf, and this is why disc golf is, I think, one reason it's the greatest sport in the world, is we can adapt the game for everybody that comes out and plays. So you can put a course in the ground with 1,000-foot hole for Paul Macbeth and Ricky Wysocki and Eagle McMahon to try to go after. But you could also put a course in the ground with 50-foot holes that players that only throw 25 feet can play and then try to par. And it's the exact same game. It's not that one is disc golf and one is something else. It's the same game because you're playing to your skill level. So you can have a course with people who are blind. You can adapt it by putting things that make noise by the baskets. And with some assistance, a player who's blind can play disc golf. We can adapt the game by simply adding sound to the basket. This is what's so great about the game. By the way, we can adapt the game by making it, instead of an 18-hole course, you can make a 3-hole course, because many people aren't capable of playing 18 holes. And that's fine. There's no rule that says you have to play 18 holes, or a course has to be 1,000 feet long, or that you have to throw over alligators and over down cliffs. But that's why. So when I teach these classes, every time I teach a class, I never ask ahead of time how old are the students, what everybody's challenges might be. I just say, let's show up. I get to know everybody. And as soon as I get to know everybody, I go, cool, here's how we're going to play disc golf today. Because there's no rules. There's no rules that says I can't change the sport to fit every single person. And that's what we do. And that's what I love about the game. It is for everyone.
Very cool. And for you guys, even, you don't have to have a basket in your backyard. Before I owned my own personal basket at home, you could throw towards a tree. Make a tree your basket. That's your target you're trying to throw to. And just by doing those simple things like that, you can work on your skills and develop it so that you're ready to go whenever you do want to try on a course.
Well, and I think one thing that's really important, and I've been around a lot of classes, and so a lot of people are going to disagree with what I'm going to say, but I really find it important to always keep score, because that's what sports is. Sports is trying to accomplish something, and a lot of times you have goals in sports. I don't like the idea of, oh, we're just going to throw around for fun. By the way, I don't want to say I don't like it. You can just have fun. It's totally okay. But a lot of times it seems like people suggest that. They think, oh, well, this is an adaptive class. Let's just make it about fun. Why? It's sports. Keep score. Count how many shots it takes. Because as soon as you do that, the next time you go out, you have a goal you can try to beat. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But you can play the game of golf, and part of the game of golf is keeping score and seeing how well you do. And by the way, it's okay to play against your friends and see who does better. Why not?
Yeah. I'm still trying to beat my one buddy.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of not just throwing the Frisbees, but playing the game. You might adapt the course, but once you adapt the course, go out there, keep score, see who's doing what. Like, there's no reason not to do that. I'm a believer in that.
Love it. Okay, and then my final question that I have, I'm just curious, what do you think is the most beautiful course, or what is your favorite course in the world that you've played? I went out to Lake Tahoe a couple of years back, and I played on a course that ran up through the mountains. Probably one of my favorite courses I've ever played. I was just kind of curious what falls into your category.
So the most beautiful course in the entire world will always be Oak Grove Park, the very first disc golf course. That's where it all started. And Oak Grove Park is like, it's dirty and old and worn out and broken down, but it's the most beautiful place in the world to me. One of the things I like, though, is that every course is different. You have courses on mountains, you have courses in fields, you have courses by cliffs, by lakes, by rivers. You have courses with trees, without trees, courses on golf courses, courses on landfills that used to be the city dump. And they're all beautiful because they're all different. So every course has its own beauty if you look for it. But I think Oak Grove will always be number one.
I love it. Where is that course? That's the course that's in Pasadena?
Yeah, Pasadena, California. It's the world's first course. So here's the reason why is back when the sport was brand new and nobody knew what it was, Ed Hedrick could not go to a beautiful park that people are enjoying picnicking and camping and walking their dogs and say, hey, I want to use part of the park for this game no one's ever heard of before. And everyone else has to stay out of that area of the park. Like, that was never going to happen. The only place he could put a course in was to go to cities and say, do you have any land that no one else wants? And when he found that land, there's a reason why no one else wanted it. Like, that's just the reality. It might have been overrun with brush. It might have been dirty. It might have been covered in so many rocks and boulders that you couldn't put any other sport there. But that's where the sport started. We didn't start getting good land until the last 10 or 20 years, when the state parks started getting behind it, mostly. So yeah, so we started off our sport in dumps to some extent.
Very cool. It's come a long way.
Oh, it's a different world now.
All right, I want to open this up one more time. Does anyone else have any additional questions for Scott?
No.
Christina?
Do any of other family members, like his daughter or his girlfriend, play?
That's a great question. So Christina's wondering, do any of your other family members, your daughter or your girlfriend, play disc golf as well?
No. So my girlfriend doesn't play at all. She travels with me. She manages a huge part of the business. But for her, she likes walking through the parks and enjoying looking at birds, looking at trees, looking at insects. She enjoys watching everything as a spectator, just like a lot of sports. She prefers to be a spectator. My daughter doesn't play. One of the important things for me as a parent was I never wanted to push my own ideas onto my daughter. I let her see everything and let her choose her own path. And it turns out that disc golf wasn't something that she found interesting. She is interesting. She's just finishing up college now. She's getting a couple degrees in college. She was diagnosed a couple years with high functioning autism. And the funny thing about it is I was working in the autism and special needs community before she was diagnosed. So that's not why I didn't even know. But she was diagnosed with autism as a young adult. And so her interests are her own. She likes certain things. There's certain things she doesn't like, and disc golf was just one of those things that was never her thing.
All right, fantastic. Good question, Christina. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Did anyone else have additional questions? Sergio, you have one more? Yeah. What's up?
I was something like things like I'm the only two things, but like this is not like we give out, but you sort of like choices like you should be a nomad, like nomad, but you give us something like orange be best, but that's not like applies to everyone, right?
So, are you looking for just some advice?
No, I mean like just point out that like you said like he should be nomad and he has to give us some things like he needs some sweets for it to be the best. But,
Yep.
That can't like apply to everyone, right?
No, that's not going to apply to everybody. So he was just wondering, your choice to live kind of, as you described, a nomad life. Is this something that you would encourage everybody to do? And I guess I could throw that out to you.
Sure. Absolutely not. I encourage everybody to find what makes them happy. So a lot of people, the thing that makes them most happy in the world is they want a house. They want the security of a steady job. They want a stable income. They want to come home every day, and when they go to the kitchen, they want to know where the coffee cups are. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that is what makes a lot of people happy. A lot of people like the stability, the security, the familiarity of things. That's why a lot of people might choose a small town over a big city. They like the fact that they know all their neighbors and they know everything on the menu at the only restaurant in town. And that's perfectly great because that's what makes them happy. It's just not what makes me happy. I never want to go to the same restaurant twice. We actually, when we drive back and forth from our hotel to the disc golf course, we try to drive a different route every single time if we can. We don't want to be on the same road if we can help it. If we're in town for a week, that we have to go back and forth. But we want to just see things that are new. I will almost always prefer going someplace new over someplace I've been before, because that's what makes me happier and my girlfriend. It makes us both happier. But that's not for everybody. And again, there's nothing wrong with doing it differently. It's like you have to find out. That's the number one key to happiness, is figure out what makes you happy and then pursuing that thing. Doesn't matter if everybody thinks you're crazy or if no one else in the house enjoys that. If you enjoy it, that's what you should be doing.
Very cool.
Thank you.
He says
Yeah,
thank
you're
you.
welcome.
That's awesome.
Great question.
All right. Well, Scott, we really, really appreciate you coming and talking with our class.
I appreciate you guys. That was so much fun, everyone. Thank you so much.
Let's give you, can we give Scott a round of applause, guys? Very cool.
Oh, thank all of you. This was such a fun fun time. I hope I get to do more of these. This was great.
Still had a nice funny joke.
Well, yeah, I know that I'm hoping some of these questions can reach a wider audience, like we had talked about.
Yeah.
And this is just really great for growing the sport of disc golf and adaptive disc golf. So if you ever find yourself in Illinois and you're looking for some new roads to drive down, hit us up and we'll happily come out and toss with you.
I would absolutely love that. I will make a note of it for sure. This is what I love. So thank you,
Very
everyone. Cool. Thank you, Kevin, so much. It was just amazing. So much fun.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Scott. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
All right. Bye.